Welcome back. If you see an Unexpected Coddiwomple on the shelves of local bookstores, you might expect it to be written by Roald Dahl or Dr. Seuss. But I'm joined now by the local author and production team, Loretto and Mark. Hi, thank you so much for coming in.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us.
Well, let's start off by answering the biggest question. What is a Coddiwomple?
Well, the formal definition of a Coddiwomple is to travel with purpose to a yet unknown destination.
Oh.
And that pretty much, in one word, condenses everything that happens in the book.
Okay.
So what the book entails is it's a journey, parallel journeys of the daughter, myself, and my father. My father died when I was 4, and I didn't really know him. And we had 6 children in our family, and then my mother was pregnant 8 months with our 7th. And so after he had died, she would tell us stories to keep his memory alive. And some of the stories were around World War II, his service in World War II. He was a radio operator on a B-17. And 2 of the stories she used to like to tell about that were one that the plane had gone down in the ocean and he had radioed back and saved the whole crew, which I found out later wasn't really what happened.
She embellished.
Yeah, well, I don't think she really knew because, you know, World War II veterans don't talk about things.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I would hear the men talking. So I think that's what she gleaned from what they were saying.
Got it.
And the second story was that, oh, he wrote his mother every day when he was in the war. Now, he served for 2.5 years. And you think, well, that's nice. But the reality is, one day, 50 years after he had died, she said, well, I have all the letters.
Wow.
And that was the first I ever heard that they had the letters.
Yeah.
And sure enough, there's a huge box in the basement of perfectly pristine letters, over 500 of them.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I said. Wow, I couldn't believe it. And she said she had saved them because she always wanted to read them. So she had a vision challenge, and I said, oh, I'll read them to you, thinking, well, how hard can this be, right? And it's all written in cursive. And so we had to organize them, first by year, then by month in each year, then by day in each month, and organized all the letters and started reading them to her. And what happened was so remarkable is that I started to get to know him, things about him that I never knew. And I thought, oh, my siblings should be reading these letters, but they're never gonna open up 500 letters and read them. And some of them are 4 pages long, front and back. So I started to type the letters. And each Christmas, that's what these books are, each Christmas I would give them a volume. And so they could start to get to know him. And it was so interesting because we started to actually talk about him as though we knew him. Oh, when he did this, when he did that.
Yeah.
And particularly for my brother because he was the baby that hadn't been born yet. And anyway, in my journey reading the letters, I started to trace his footsteps and track down people and places that he talked about. And I actually found his World War II pilot, B-17 pilot. He was 93 years old, living in Maine.
Wow.
And we became friends and talked a lot about the letters. And finally, just like a military lieutenant, he said to me, just write the damn book. And I said, okay. And we put together the book. In 2019, we had it published, and basically it's parallel journeys. So my journey to meet my father and my father's journey to just get through the war and come home and have a life, which we knew now was just short.
Yeah.
And we ended up, people that read it said, geez, you should look at making a series or a movie.
And that leads us to you, Mark. Can you tell us a little bit about how you plan to get all of this history into something for television?
There's so much to digest out of 600 pages. And when I first met with Loretto, we talked about maybe doing this as a feature film, but it's not as plot-driven as a typical feature. It's more about the people we meet along the way. Loretto, her father, Lieutenant. So we talked about making this into a series because then we could have episodes, chapters of both of those journeys. So I took that 600-page book and put it into a 75-page pilot script.
Wow.
And finding ways to tell the story, to navigate the eventual viewer, the reader for now, through her story in just little bite-sized scenes to get them a sense of who she is, who her father was, what those journeys are. And then since then, we've actually decided to even pare it down from there to make it a smaller bite-sized production. So the script itself is done, and it's basically waiting to see what we can do with it. But the proof of concept is our next step.
Okay, so how do you plan to do that? How do you plan to get this project off the ground?
So we're going to produce a proof of concept that's about 10 minutes long. We've written the script for that. We're beginning to find allies and people. Loretto's got a lot of connections in the World War II community and the B-17 community, and we're going to look for distributors who might be interested, production studios, both local and abroad, who might be interested in partnering with us, investors, anybody who has a special interest in World War II, in military background, anybody who might find a tie to this. Plus, it's got a huge ancestry component to it as well.
And it just seems like an amazing story. I am so excited to see where you guys take this. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing more with viewers. If you would like to learn more about the book and its journey, you can visit lorettathompson.org. And again, if you're someone out there that's interested in helping bring this project to life, reach out to them. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Chelsea.